Hi and welcome to a new video. In this video I want to go through a few firmware updates that have been released across the GT-AX11000, the good GT-AX11000 and the ET12 mesh system. So there's been multiple firmware updates, so I thought I'd do it all in one video and then I'll separate it by chapter so you can skip through to your specific router. So we'll start off first with my network. So I've currently got AI mesh set up, so that means I've got the GT-AX11000 as the main router, and then also as my node I've got another router, and that's the ET12. So as you can see here, as we usual, you can do this within the app and it's within the settings in the app as well, but for easy and to go through in the video, it's easier for me to go through the web interface like this. So as usual, you just scroll down and then you go to administration, then you go to firmware upgrade. So if you do have, when you first set it up, you have this firmware auto upgrade switched on, that means you've already got the latest update. So you would have already received this and it would have been downloaded. But if you're like me and prefer to have it switched off and then manually go in and just check what the updates are, then you can do it this way. But it's always good to get the latest updates. As we see, there's a lot of security updates and fixes that have been added recently, and you don't really get to know about them until you actually go in and find out if there's new features. Just like this one, this current firmware update for the GT-AX11000 and the ET12 Pro ZenWiFi. As you can see here, I've got them both down here. So these have got some, it's one of the biggest firmware updates I think of the year so far. It's adding features and everything. So if we just go to check as we normally do, again, you does have an option here where you can achieve a beta firmware, so that means like a test version. Again, I don't really advise that if you're using this router as your main home router, because the beta versions normally still have bugs in them, so you don't want to be disconnecting all the time and things like that, especially if you're working from home and you really need to rely on it more. So as we can see, after we've checked there, we can see that now there's latest firmware updates for both of them. So well, first of all, go to the GT-AX11000. So again, if you can see here, you've got this underlined here, so you can actually click on that and it will give you the release note. So this is the information that's actually within the update. And as you can see, it is an absolute beast of an update, and we'll go through it as quick as possible not to bore you. So as you can see here, we've actually got some new features now that they've added. So you can see there's 3 new features. So the first one is for built-in Surfshark. So that's a VPN company. So Surfshark in VPN Fusion allows you to surf the internet anonymously and securely from anywhere by encrypting your connection. So it's the same as any VPN, but Surfshark is a specific company, just like NordVPN and the rest of them. So there is more information on their website here about setting it up, so we can have a look here. If we just click on this one here, so Surfshark, so you can see this on here. So ASUS has probably decided to actually partner with Surfshark, the company. So you can see it here. It is an ASUS router built-in feature. So basically, they're just trying to make life much easier for you to use a VPN. So of course, they've partnered with a specific one. So what it does, it helps devices that cannot install VPN software. So like your smart TVs and your game consoles. So it allows them to access regional game shows, live sports or content. So basically what it's saying is that it can, if you're a smart TV and you've got Netflix built in, you can make it look like the TV's coming from America, so you could perhaps get American content, that kind of thing. So users no longer need to set up each VPN required device to be able to be managed. So the VPN settings for multiple devices on a single ASUS router. So basically all you do is you set up the VPN Fusion, like you probably see in my other videos if you go back on VPN Fusion, and you can then just select the device, say your smart TV or a game console, select which VPN server and enter your username and password, and then basically it will then always filter that just that one device through the VPN to make it look like it's coming from a different country. So it's really handy, and you don't have to worry about setting anything up on your TV or your game console or whatever device it is. So you can see here is just a bit of information about Surfshark. This is the company, and it's saying there Surfshark is a VPN tool that owns 3,200 plus servers in 100 countries to help you unlock the world of all your devices. It allows you to surf the internet anonymously and securely from anywhere by encrypting your connection. You are free to access blocked content, keep your personal information safe, browse the internet without being tracked, or enjoy the fast connection speed. So basically, it's like Surfshark is just like, to be honest, it's good. I've heard good reviews and everything else, but there is other VPNs out there, so don't feel that this is like the only choice that you have. But it's just because ASUS have partnered with them, so they built it in them to make things easier. So you can see here, I'll put the links to all of these different features in the description, so you can click on here. And there is a step-by-step guide. I won't go through in more detail with you, so you can go through this at your own pace. But you can see here, it just goes through using the app here. You can go through, and also this just reflects as well the same menus that you have on the web interface. We can go along and then just create your account, and then just set up the device and everything else. So it does look quite straightforward, and they're trying to make life a bit easier for you. So it is quite good that they've actually got that built in. So that's a good feature to have. So if we go back, so you see the next one is the what I really find really good is the iPhone and Android USB auto backup WAN. So it allows you to connect your phone, your mobile phone, to the router's USB port and use it as an internet source. So we've always had the 3G, 4G dongles, but it's always been a bit hit and miss, to be honest. So when I've tested them before, if they work, they don't work. And I have actually wanted to use my phone, but it's never been. I've tried to find an old Android phone, and it seemed to manage to work sometimes. But they've actually built the feature in now, so this makes it much more better for people and everything else. So if you do have a connection with your internet, and if it ever goes down, but you rely on your internet quite a lot, you can connect your phone to it. And if you've got like an unlimited data plan, or even a large mini gigabytes of data on your data plan for your phone, then you can actually use it. So that's really good to see as a backup. So again, they've got like a how-to guide on here, so you can see here where basically I'll put in the description as I said before, and it just says here that this feature will only work with certain versions of the firmware or later. And then here you've got specific information about iPhones. So this is where you go through and you set up like your personal hotspot, and you plug it in, and then you hit trust on your phone and things like that. And it comes, again, they've built it in properly, so you get notifications in the app if you have that installed on your phone as well. And you've got some troubleshooting. And also good to see that they've got the Android set up as well, so it just goes through the process. You can see there's pretty straightforward for both iPhone and for Android phones. And you can see here they've got just some more troubleshooting here about changing over your USB device and things like that. So it's good to see that they actually have that now. So if you do have your internet get cuts off, you can just plug your phone in, iPhone or Android, and just get it set up to work, and you can use your 4G, 5G or 3G connection. So that's really good to see as well. It's another feature that I think should have been bought in a long time ago. And thirdly, the new feature is the DDNS transfer. So this is basically, if you remember, as in previous videos, you can set up, instead of having, when you're remote accessing back to your router, you can set up your own DNS or dynamic DNS, sorry. So it's a name. So it turns your IP address of all numbers into something like myrouter.asuscoms.com. And so it's easy for you to remember and things like that. But the problem is that, like me, if you do upgrade your router quite often, then what will happen is that you'll lose that most of the time, and you won't be able to transfer it. But now you can. So now they've got the actual setup, and again, it's got the link here within there, and it just gives you a guide to basically go through on how to transfer the actual dynamic DNS host name across to your new router. So as it says here, that based on account binding, so you can transfer your ASUS dynamic DNS host name from the original router to the new device. For example, if you buy a new router, so example ZenWiFi XT9, to replace your original router, the GT-AX11000 Pro, and you want to use your original ASUS dynamic DNS host name on your new router, then you can now transfer it across, and it just gives you a quick guide down here on how to set that up and everything else and transfer it. So that's really good to see as well. They've got how-to guides as well and FAQs as well, so it's good to see that they support it and also add the feature and then don't really support and help you understand it more. Again, I'll put all of these links into the description. So that's the three features that they've added into this firmware. So you can see this one ends in 23012. And as you can see, that's, it's really good, because normally in the firmware updates all we get is security updates, and of course they are very important, but it's always good to get new features, especially when we know these routers are expensive and fairly new as well. So then we've got multiple bug fixes and functionality modifications. Again, I won't go into great detail in each one of these because we'll be here all day and I'm sure you're not that interested. But as you can see here, there is lots of bug fixes. So an issue around the login and password changes, basically an issue around the IPsec VPN connection issues, that's your VPN. Instant guard connection issues, so that's with your app for the connecting back to your home network. Also fix the AI cloud login issues after unplugging and plugging in the hard drive and everything. Then you have the fixed issues with the traffic analysis, sometimes couldn't record data. I think I had that as well, because I like to have the traffic analyzer on, just so I can see what some of my smart devices, like my plugs and things like that, to make sure they're not phoning home too much and sending like huge amounts of gigabytes of data when they shouldn't really. So it's always a good a secondary tool to analyze things. They fixed the time display issue preferred, basically your upgrade for your auto firmware upgrade function. They fine-tuned the description for the port status, so that's within your network map. Then you've got your dynamic DNS and no IP DDS to update to IP version 6. They've done again fixed the AI mesh preferred AP, so that's the access point identification. So that's a site survey. Again, that's under you got your options here to do the site survey and everything else. Then you've updated the time zone as well. So for Greenland, Mexico, and Iran. I'm not too sure why they've included Iran, because I'm sure they're on a sanctions list, but hey ho. Modified the USB application option text in the dual WAN. Allowed WireGuard server, so I know a lot of people use WireGuard for VPN and everything else, so basically they've allowed WireGuard server clients to access the server, your Samba server. That's your shared folders and things. They fixed their memory leak issue and enabled the fallback function when using your iOS Android USB backup WAN, so that's one of the features we were saying. Then we've got the security updates. As you can see here, there's multiple. So it's always good, again, as I say in previous videos, it's always good to see that they're updating and everything else. And then also where they're enhancing protection as well for our routers. Don't forget, they're always connected to the internet and normally are on 24/7. So I won't go through each of these details, but as you can see here, you can actually Google search these and you can find out more information. But just to let you know that they're there, and they have fixed multiple of them, and it's good to see that they're actually taking contributions as well from third parties that are actually finding them, and they're actually integrating them and getting it fixed. So that's good to see. So yeah, so that's all the ones for the GT-AX11000. So now we'll just move on to the release notes for the ZenWiFi Pro ET12. So now we'll look at the ZenWiFi Pro ET12 firmware update. So again, if we just click on the actual firmware number, as we can see here. So this one ends in 23013 again, but you can see there it does have another version of G3E1C174 just on the there. So you can see here again, just like the GT-AX11000, we've got some new features. That's always good to see. And as I said before, you know, these routers are expensive and they're fairly new, so I would like to keep seeing new features added. And ASUS is one company that I really do appreciate all their hard work that they do, is their constant security updates and everything else, and continue supporting even models of routers that have been out for several years, like the GT-AX11000. There's still security updates coming out for it and things like that. So it's always good to see they're supporting those. As I said, it is most important, one of the to keep this up to date, because this is connected to the internet and all your devices go through it and everything else. So as you can see here, as we said, there is 2 new features, and then there's lots of bug fixes and functionality modifications, and then security updates as well. There's a whole host of them, so we'll go through and summarize later. So first of all, we'll go to the new features. So as we said here, we can see here now we've got built-in Surfshark for VPN Fusion. So this allows you to surf the internet anonymously and securely from anywhere by encrypting your connection. So they've got an FAQ here and a setup guide for the actual setup of the Surfshark. So Surfshark is actually a company, a private company separate from ASUS. And so they've decided to partner with this specific company. So they're like NordVPN and all the rest of them. VPN Fusion is there to make things much easier. So as it says here, what it is trying to do is VPN Fusion is the ASUS router built-in feature that allows devices that cannot install VPN software, so like your smart TV or your game console, to access regional game shows, live sports or content. So basically what they're saying there is that, you know, if your smart TV has some kind of video streaming like Netflix, Amazon Prime or anything like that, and you want to actually get content from another country, so like I'm in the UK and I want to see American Netflix content, then what I can do is add my smart TV to the VPN Fusion, set up the VPN, so you can choose like they've got Surfshark, or you can choose another company, get that set up and then choose the device. I have got a video previously about that, so just search for that on my channel for VPN and VPN Fusion. So basically you can then select that one specific device, or if you want 2 TVs within the household, and then so it basically just filters all of their content through that VPN and makes that one device basically look like it's in another country. That's quite good, so you don't have to worry about all your other devices slowing down and things like that, or you have to filter everything. It's just for that. And you can then have it so you can switch it off and back to normal again just by the flick of a button. And these settings can be updated within the web interface and also within the app. And you can see here there's a guide where it gives you some information around Surfshark VPN company itself, and then it just gives you a guide going down here using the app. And basically these menus are the same as the web interface, where you can go along and then create the account and then basically pair up and then configure it to use Surfshark. Again, you don't have to use Surfshark. You can choose another company that if you've already signed up for, but it's there. It's built into ASUS router, so it's always good to see that they are making things much easier for just like a normal user. They want to set it up and make things much easier and more user friendly. So that's good to see. And again, I'll put the links, all of these links in the description, so you can then have a look. The next one is the dynamic DNS host name transfer. So before, if you remember, with the dynamic DNS, we had to set up basically a host name. So if you want to easily access your router, you could easily do that within the dynamic DNS menu within the router. And then basically that changed your IP address of all numbers into a host name. So like myrouter.asus.com .com. So basically you could easily remember that to access your router and then get back to it from outside your home network. So the problem issue was before, as it says the example here, is that basically now it's actually going to be based on your account binding. So that's when you've got the app and everything else. All your routers are binded to one account, so you can transfer now the host name across to a new device. But you need to make sure that you do bind your router with your account using the app first. As you can see here, they're just basically saying you've just bought a new router, the ZenWiFi ET12 to replace your old original GT-AX11000 Pro. And then you want to use your original ASUS dynamic DNS host name on the new router, and you can transfer that across. It does, again, it shows you in more detail down here on how to do that. So I won't go into much detail, as I'll put the link in the description. It's quite straightforward for you, and it's good to see again that they actually support the actual an FAQ and go through the instructions to make it a bit clearer for everyone as well. Sadly, this firmware update doesn't include the Android and iPhone connection, like the GT-AX11000, sorry. So that one basically is a new feature. It allows you to connect your Android or your iOS or Apple device, iPhone, to the USB ports. You can use its 4G, 5G signal as a backup WAN. So if your internet goes down, you can plug that in and it'll connect straight away. So I'm hoping to see that soon, because I can't see why they can't. It does have USB built in, so perhaps that'll come later. Next, we move on to the bug fixes and functionality, basic modifications. As we can see here, I won't go into a lot of details, but they've resolved the issues with the login and password changes. If you were having issues before, the IPsec VPN connection issues, also with Instant Guard, so that's their VPN app that allows you to connect back to your home network and the router. Then they fixed issues with the traffic analyzer that sometimes couldn't record data. So again, that's quite good. I use the traffic analyzer and switch it on, so I can just identify devices like my smart plugs and things like that, so they're not sending back lots of data back to somewhere I don't know, and it gives me a first sign that there's something wrong with it. Then we have fixed the time issue. So this is your preferred upgrade time in the auto firmware upgrade function. So as we said on up the top here, you can switch on auto. Basically, you can switch on auto firmware upgrade, and so when you switch that on, it's modified that issue there as well. So we go back down. So then again, they've actually fine-tuned the description for the port status. That's in your network map. So now you can see, when it goes amber, green, when you're connecting devices and things like that, it gives you more information, more better. Enabled your dynamic DNS and no IP. So again, this is to do with your dynamic domain when you're setting them up. So they've enabled that. So that's good for IP version 6. They fixed an issue with the AI mesh, so that's like what I'm using, where I have the GT-AX E11000 as the main router, and then I'm using a ZenWiFi Pro ET12 as a node. So basically it's done the identification as well, so it better shows in the site survey that you've got there for your diagnostics. Again, they've updated some time zone list. So for Greenland, Mexico, and Iran, I'm sure Iran is on the sanctions list, but anyway, fixed memory leak issues. So again, that's just where it actually comes over too much data. Again, we've got some security updates. So again, it's good to see they're also fixing updates from third parties that people, as you can see here, they acknowledge them, that have identified issues, and they're taking them on board. So that's most important. And I think ASUS is one of the best companies I see out there that actually acknowledge the people and give us updates for many years old routers as well, and they continue supporting it. So you can see here, I won't go into all the details, but as you can see here, they've enabled a lot of different basically fixes and also enhanced protection for over the air update, firmware updates, and then also for your credentials, and also fix some vulnerabilities as well. So you can see here. So it's good to see that they are actually continuing fixing and implementing and enhancing the security, because it's always important. So you can see here there's multiple of them on there. So that's always good to see. So now we'll move on to actually completing the firmware upgrade. So now moving on to the firmware upgrade. So again, as I said, within the app is near enough the same. So I've done the check and we can see that there's the 2 firmware upgrades available. So now I'll just click the button here. So you'll see that it automatically do everything for you. So just remember, if you are doing this, just make sure if you've got children or anyone else connected to like meetings or anything like this, when the firmware starts downloading to the routers and everything, that it will disconnect from the internet and have to restart, and it will probably be up to 10 minutes or perhaps a little few minutes extra on top. So just be aware of that and give it time just to download. So don't be disconnecting anything or anything like that during the firmware. It's most important, because you can cause you can brick your router if you start unplugging it while it's halfway through a firmware update. So make sure again is that it's got a secure connection and everything else, and just let everyone else know, because you don't want people shouting at you saying, again, are you disconnecting, restarting or doing something to the internet. But again, it shouldn't take too long, depending on your internet connection speed. It is very quite a fast process, and it should get done, and it will ask you to log back into the router once complete. So we'll come back once that's finished. As you can see now, the firmware upgrade is complete and it's taking you back to the login page. So we'll just log back in. And just to verify, again, this is using the web portal, but you can use the app if you like to. And we just go back to the firmware upgrade. So you can see here again that my AI mesh actually is the only one showing. So again, just give it probably another 10 minutes for the other one to show up. So if you're using AI mesh system, so use your other node and everything else. Moving on to the firmware update for the ASUS Rapture GT-AX11000. So this update came out on February the 7th, 2023, and we can see here it's ending in 22525, and it's about a size of 69.94 megabytes. So you can see here's 8 items that it's actually got on there, and also most of them are not new features but are actually fixes or security enhancements. So as you can see, the first one is around this CVE. Again, as we said, you can put this in the description here. I won't go into great details and everything else, but you can look these up. It fixes, so the CVE is a standardized number that's given to exploits and everything else, or vulnerabilities, and you can just search for that on Google and it will come up with the details and everything else that you need. So again, it's got here around it's fixed an issue or a vulnerability within the stored XSS. Then thirdly, we've got the improved AI mesh backhaul stability. So that's really good to see, because if you're like me that uses the AI mesh function, it's always good to see the more stability going on there. So I've had a few issues where it's disconnected or doesn't show up sometimes. So it's good to see they're still improving the AI mesh even on the GT-AX11000 that's been out for several years. 4, they've fixed the AI mesh topology UI bug. So again, that's within the AI mesh menu within your options and all settings. So basically sometimes it wouldn't show up properly on there, so it's good that they've corrected that. 5th, they've fixed the reboot issue with basically assigning specific clients in the VPN Fusion. Again, this is that VPN Fusion is within the VPN settings. So VPN Fusion, for example, allows you to set up a VPN third parties company, so like Nord or Surfshark or something like that, and then you can set up their details and you can make your certain devices like your smart TVs or your game consoles where you can't install a VPN software on, you can actually divert them to a different country. So perhaps you can start viewing different content from a different country and things like that. So it just makes life much more user friendly using VPN Fusion, and it's built in as well to the ASUS routers. 6, it's fixed the VPN Fusion bug when importing Surfshark WireGuard config file. So Surfshark is a specific company for a VPN company, and I know a lot of people would prefer the WireGuard. This is a protocol or standard, so like IPsec and then OpenVPN. So a lot of people prefer WireGuard because it's a newer, basically standard or protocol, and basically it's supposed to be much quicker and easier to use. And so this is around the config file that you download from Surfshark, their website, and then you upload to the ASUS router. 7, they fixed the network map bug. So again, that's the option within the app or on the web interface where you can see all your devices and things like that, and you can split them down to channels. So under what's connected by Ethernet to your 2.4 to your 5 and your other 5, your second 5 gigahertz frequency as well, or band. 8 and final is fixed the 2.5 gig port status. So again, I think if you had an issue like I did, I sometimes plugged in my 10 gig switch and then a Ethernet cable to it. Sometimes it wouldn't show properly, so obviously they've fixed that now, so that's good. And it'll show like you got the full, it was working correctly. I think it was just basically it was a user interface bug that made it look like it wasn't connecting at full speed when it was. So again, you can see here, if you do want to have a look at the previous firmware for the GT-AX11000 on the website for ASUS, you can click show all at the bottom, and it'll just take you down to all of the firmware. You can see how many updates they've been doing, and you can see the first one back here in 2018. So again, as I said, this router's been out for several years. It's still one of the best routers out there, solid as a rock for me personally, and also it's good to see ASUS continue to support it with these improvements and also fixes for security. So that's basically how to upgrade, and then the newest features that have been added to the GT-AX11000, the ZenWiFi ET12 Pro, and also the GT-AX11000. Okay, so I hope you found this useful, and again, if you have any comments, leave them in the comment section, and I'll try my best to get back to you. Thanks very much and have a great day.